You were raving about Cooper Flagg yesterday. You're sitting in first class on the hype train here?
Absolutely. And I'm not someone that is a Duke fan. I am not someone who stands for what they stand for as a basketball person. I abhor them. But as far as Cooper Flagg, watching what he did as a 17-year-old, he doesn't turn 18 until late December. But seeing that he belonged in day one, from what I understood, and then in day two, he started to make that impact. I mean, Dan, not to make this bigger than what it is, but can you remember the last white American-born basketball player to go into college with hype train and then come into the NBA and exceed the hype? Because that to me goes back to Larry Bird, and I feel like it's been too long. Maybe Cooper Flagg is the next one.
Well, Bird didn't have the same kind of fanfare going to Indiana because Indiana was loaded back then at the time. He went there and he was overwhelmed. I mean, they had Buckner and they had all those great
Right.
players, great teams. And then Bird, decided to work on a garbage truck and then went to Indiana State. It was the hype after that going into the NBA. But we're talking about 17 going into college. I mean, he could go to the NBA. He would have been the first pick in the NBA draft this year. I'm guessing by all accounts.
Yeah. I mean, look, I can't remember the last time that we've had a consensus after a bad draft. We're going to have a historic draft
Yeah.
with the number one pick, and teams are already setting themselves up. Like Danny Ainge in Utah right now is salivating at the prospect of getting Cooper Flagg in Salt Lake City.
Okay, but what are the players saying about him? The NBA players, the Olympians.
Well, I think they knew. Like, it's one thing to know a guy, you got to think about the Nike Hoop Summits and the AAU circuits that these guys have been playing on. He sort of shot up like a rocket over the past year and a half, where John Shire, like this kid is from Maine. He's not from necessarily the easiest part of America to get to. But once Duke coach John Shire got to him and you got to see him on the AAU circuits, everybody gets to see. Remember, LeBron has an AAU team. All these other guys have AAU teams that they cultivate themselves. So yesterday, I think you got to see, like there was this one sequence, Dan. He walked down Anthony Davis for a three, and then they tried to lob it ahead to AD. He broke that up. And somehow in one fell swoop, someone shot a three and he streaked down the court. This isn't sneaky athleticism. He is an athlete. He streaked down the court with a tip in over Bam and getting a foul at the same time. Like, those are pro plays for a guy who was 17 years old. Like, those guys were raving about him. I think there's a point where someone like that, if he shows up to the U.S. select team, you're trying to see if he belongs. You're trying to see how he fits. And then after day one, I think they're like, oh, okay, he belongs on the same floor of us. And yesterday was the day that he really asserted himself.